everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Talking Tongue, the weekly quarantine show where I get to talk to my friends near and far to talk about the movies and TV shows and the things that they love. And today I have a very lovely guest who has never appeared on Talking Tongue, but you may know them from Ranked. They've helped me rank dinosaurs, horses, hopefully more to come, because she has the most hilarious points of view on some really dumb stuff, which is what I appreciate about her. No, I say that like it's an insult. It's not. It's one of my favorite parts about this person. I'm talking about Kadi Diop, everyone.
Hi, Tuong.
Hi, Kadi. I hope you didn't take any offense from that.
None whatsoever.
Yeah,
None.
I mean, you have a lot of thoughts on stuff.
I have a lot of opinions, and I love giving my opinion. And I think that is, I love being asked what I think about things. So I love just like putting my foot down and saying this is how it should be when it comes to fictional horses or dinosaurs.
or dinosaurs or
anything else, really.
Well, this is what makes you a good improviser, you know? You just have things to say. Kadi, some people don't know who you are, which is a crime and a shame. People should know who you are.
Thank you. That's very, very kind.
But for the people who don't know who you are, you want to give them the whole spiel here?
Sure. So I am an improviser and storyteller based in Montreal. I'm also a community organizer and a sexology student and an auntie and a general pain in the butt. I'm also a co-host on a podcast about young adult literature called Yeah, which is awesome. And I try to keep myself busy and out of trouble while also sticking it to the man.
Yeah.
I guess this is sort of who I am. Yeah.
I love that. Now, how do you, on the topic of keeping yourself busy, now we're still in the pandemic. We're still here. We're still wading through it. Small light at the end of the tunnel. We can kind of see it, but it still seems too far away. But we're here. We're here. We're living through it.
We're doing it.
You're a generally positive person, or you choose happiness over, being depressed about what's going on in the world, or we try to be, right? So what are the things that keep you happy during this whole pandemic thing?
Yeah, a couple of things. Number one, antidepressants.
Yeah, that's I mean, there you go.
It helps. But also, I've recently discovered the power of taking a bath.
Oh, you're one of those now.
Yes, it is. It's brand new. So I live in Montreal, which is notorious for having very terrible low baths. It's hard to take a bath.
Like bathtubs?
Yeah, tiny bathtubs.
Huh.
And my partner has a sizable bathtub. And so...
Which is why you're with them.
Partially. But it's been so nice to just like develop a little ritual. So on Sundays I'll do we'll have like a really nice brunch, and then I will bring my phone with me and I will epsom salt the crap out of the bathtub, and I'll just soak for a while and keep refilling the hot water until I'm pruny.
Wait, are you bringing your phone to the bath? Isn't that like rule number one not to do?
I don't care, because you know what? Here's the fun thing about self-care. No one should tell you how to do it.
That's true. Unless it's a toaster, then don't do that. Don't bring a toaster.
No toasters. No, I'm not doing toasters. But for my phone, it's quite nice because then I can just scroll mindlessly and not feel guilty about it, because I have this terrible, I have a lot of anxiety, and I'm always nervous about scrolling around people, because it's just it's such a nice, weird dissociative state that it feels a little comfy cozy.
Sure.
And so in my bathtub, I can be I'm going to watch everybody's stories. I'm going to go on Instagram and I'm going to go on whatever app and just have fun.
Yeah,
just watch people's stories. Now that there's Twitter Reels also.
The fleets.
Oh, God. Yeah.
No. You're not there with the fleets yet, but you'll watch the Instagram stories.
I mean, if you know that the fleet is a brand of enema, so it's kind of
Is
It's
that
kind
true?
of straight. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I get to watch those and judge people's lives and, laugh. And then I watch a bunch of like pandas rolling in the snow because that brings me joy. And like, I am a simple person. Like, basically, give me animals tripping and I'm happy. So,
That
yeah.
makes me so happy. Wow, Caddy. That's
Yeah.
that's great. I love that. I love that. Any favorite bath bombs right now? Are you a bath bomb person yet?
No, I'm not a big bath bomb person, but what I've been doing is combining some Epsom salts
Yeah.
with some like fancy dancy, like super organic bubble bath. And
Mm.
that way, like, I get the foaminess, but then I
Yep.
also get the Epsom saltiness. And then I don't have to bother with buying things like natural oils because that's just a mess waiting to happen in my kitchen.
Right. Tell me about Epsom salts a little bit. Is that just really good
Mm.
for us? Or
Oh my
okay,
God.
hang on. No one
Okay.
can see your reaction, Caddy, but you just went whoopee.
I'm
Like,
so excited to talk about this tongue. I am very obsessed with Epsom salts. Okay, so Epsom salts are super rich in magnesium,
uh-huh.
which as humans we struggle because not a lot of foods are super magnesium rich, or anyways, not at the quantity that we need. And the
Yeah.
best way to integrate magnesium into your body is subdermally. So by taking it, so by like creams or soaking in Epsom salt baths, or if you have access to like wonderful mineral springs with like who are naturally full of magnesium, go for it. And all that is great because it helps regulate your sleep, your circadian cycle. So it's really great. It helps you feel rested. I discovered this going to like these weird pod place in Montreal called the Ovarium,
What's
who
that?
should be sponsoring this episode, please. So it's like you go in these rooms and there's like these little eggs and you just like take a shower and then you go float for an hour and then you take another shower and then you go home and it's
What?
wonderful.
That sounds
Yeah,
great.
it's wonderful. And like the water is like really like they're really good about their water temperature. So the first time I went, I didn't know where my skin ended and the water started. So it
Wow.
was just like it's very trippy and you can turn off all the lights. And if you're into sensory deprivation,
Yeah.
someone with a very a very sensitive nervous system, so that stuff really just kind of helps me sleep. And
Sounds like a day at the spa. Because I did that one time where you're in like one of those really dark but like perfectly temperatured waters that make you float, but then you're like, where my I can't feel my body, but I can
mm,
feel myself. It's like a
mm.
like a cerebral bath experience.
Well, it's amazing, and like, and not to get too woo woo about it, but it is like a little bit of a going back to the source, right? When's the last time most of us were in like a relatively cramped, warm, like very acoustically kind of echoey kind of environment? And it's,
Mother's womb.
in the womb.
In the womb.
So in the room.
Ah,
So it is kind of nice, and at the same time, it's just also relaxing
yeah.
period to just soak in a like warm tub for an hour. Like it's
Yeah.
relaxing. Your muscles start going, like they start like releasing slowly, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, maybe my back doesn't hurt
You
quite
know
as
what? I'm
much.
gonna take your advice on this. I would love to do this one day, and I should now can stop asking my mother to go back inside her womb because she's not having it. So
Well, I mean, you're not a small person, Tongue.
no,
Like the
that's what she keeps
prospect is
telling me.
not.
It's like, Mom, can I go back inside? No, no,
Mm-mm,
that's
mm-mm.
dangerous. Caddy, I love that. That is seems like a really solid piece of advice for people who just need a way to relax and they're like, I don't know how to do it. I mean, my Laura, she loves baths, but she doesn't do Epsom salts. She does all sorts of other what I don't take baths. I find them incredibly boring myself. Although I do like
Used to.
spas. Yeah.
I used to feel the same way. At first I was like, okay, it's like making soup out of myself,
Yeah.
right? It's just like sitting in like, and then I was like, is it really hygienic to just sit in your own filth for like 20 minutes? And but then I did it.
And you love it.
And
Hey,
I
there's no
love
judgment.
it.
I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. People relax in different ways. When I'm sitting in a bath, I'm like, I could be playing video games. I could be watching, well, I mean, I guess I could be watching TV in the bath, but I don't really
Mhm.
want to bring my video games to the bath.
No, that might not be a good idea, but Sailor Moon in an
Yeah.
Epsom salt bath is really fun.
Okay. I'll take your word for that. Sailor Moon Crystal, Sailor Moon Sailor, just like the regular one. Isn't
The
there
regular one, the one that's
regular?
on Crave.
Meh.
Meh.
Man, okay. Well, Kadi, I love that. Now, we have a lot to talk about today. We got a movie to talk about, which I will save for a little bit later, because right now we're going into the pop culture headlines of the week. Now, I haven't read these in advance. I have not. They're just pulled from IGN, and we'll see where it brings us. We're gonna see where it brings us, okay? So, how about we go with this? Okay, here we go. Here we go. Let's see. Okay. A Nintendo politely declined an offer to work with Kanye West on a video game. How do you feel about this? Kanye West wanted to make a Nintendo game.
I mean, it depends on what would be happening in the video game, but my guess is that it would probably be a vehicle to try to recruit people into his religious situation.
What do you
Also,
think what do you think the
also,
gameplay would be like? What would you do as in the Kanye West Nintendo game?
I have no clue. Maybe throw tantrums. And then maybe you've got like a side character that's like Kim or like something like that. And then like you can like run through cities and like you gotta buy stuff. You gotta
Yeah.
like get like the blingiest chains and like I don't know. Kanye's just known for throwing dumb opinions out. So
Yeah.
and making really good music. So
Do you
could be
think Kim
fun.
Kardashian makes an appearance in his video game?
100%. Who is Kanye without Kim?
But there you go. There you go. I would not play a Kanye West video game. I think I'd be fine. I'd
Why?
like to see one. I'd like other people. I'd like it to exist just so I could be like, it's like the Snyder cut where I'm happy for the people who want it, but I don't want to watch it. I don't want to interact with that stuff.
That's really funny. So you basically want this to exist so that you can judge other people for enjoying
Yes,
it.
I think I'm a bad person.
No, you're not a bad person, Tang. You're someone who likes giving your opinion on things and
Yep.
telling people how they could be better.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right. Here, what else? Have you watched The Office before?
Yes, I have only the US version. I know I'm a horrible person.
That's fine. I'll be honest. Well, here we go. Here we go. As someone who loves to talk about TV and movies and all this stuff, I've never finished The Office. Never done it.
Gasp.
Yeah, gasp. There you go. I'm sorry. I've watched the first few seasons several times. I just never finished it. The Office. Kevin Malone, that actor or the person who plays Kevin, Brian Baumgartner, is 2020's top earning celebrity on Cameo.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. Oh,
Yeah, right.
my mind is blown.
Yeah, apparently he made a ton of money. Okay, here we go. He made over $1 million US from the personalized video sharing service this year. Apparently he charges about $195 per video, has a fantastic turnaround. They're always funny. And yeah, I just think it's wow. Like it seems like a random person to do it, but he's also the perfect person to be the most successful.
He is, because he doesn't really have to do much. Like, his face is very comedic. Like, I think he's got such a good awareness of his facial muscles.
Yep.
And, like, this guy obviously, like, I don't know about how about you feel about him, but, like, he gives off big improv energy.
Oh, yeah. Don't know how to describe that to other people who don't do improv, but you just have to trust us on that.
Just over eager and willing to ham it up to any degree, I guess.
There it is. Yes.
And then there's like, doesn't he have like dentures? I think like so
Does
he
he?
can, and that's a part of like there's some shtick in The Office around that about him coming in with no teeth. So Yeah, I think that's great. All the power to him. Yes, to side characters taking over. No one wants a cameo from Jim and Pam. What are they going to say? Hi, we're happy, you're not? Ugh.
Yeah,
Like,
I wonder if he does it just all in character or not. Like, if you were to get a cameo from anybody, any celebrity,
yep.
who's it going to be?
Bianca Del Rio from season 6 of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Oh my God, that you had that answer locked and loaded.
I love her.
I've never seen RuPaul's Drag Race.
Oh, Tuong. This is your next podcast. We're going to watch RuPaul together, and I'm going to get you into drag queens.
I mean, like, I have nothing against, I would love to, but I always look at RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm like, holy crap, there's like a million seasons of this show. I don't know where to begin.
I can curate an experience for you, Tom. Start with season 6, then you move
to season 6?
Start with season 6. It is by far the most mind-blowing season of that series. And then you can skip season 7 because it's not that interesting. Move to 8, 9. And then 10's kind of wah-wah. And then, like, you can, like 11, 12 is fine, and now it's 13. So you can pick and choose, and really, they're just glamazons. Like, it's like the Olympics of glamazons. They have to do improv. They have to sing. They have to dance. They have to look flawless. And they do this while tucking their penises back into their rear ends.
Well, I'm used to that. I do that. I used to do that all the time as a kid, and my sister said, don't do that. It's weird. And, well, I should say, we were all kids when I were doing that. I don't do that now. This wasn't last week when I was just showing my sister what I can do with my penis. That's just weird. We were kids, okay? 5, 7 years old, maybe. I don't remember. Now I feel weird for saying it.
Telling your audience is like, they're like, oh God, oh, what's happening? Why?
This is why people subscribe to the show, to get the inner workings of my mind, you know? Okay, back to your thing.
Back to my thing, yes. Yeah. What about you? Who would you want a cameo from?
Celebrity wise?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't. Jackie Chan? You know? It's been a while since the world has seen Jackie Chan. Like he's kind of just left, North America. He's kind of like, I'm good with those movies. Don't need to do those anymore. Pretty famous on his own over in Asia. So
yeah, he doesn't need to do much ever again. Let's be honest. But I saw him in a movie recently. I remember I had a fever at some point, and I watched it. I needed a Jackie Chan movie, and it's like it's a recent movie. I'm gonna find the title. Nope. It's It's like China and India get together to find like a lost temple or something. It's so bad, but I enjoyed it.
Oh, I know this movie.
Yep. I'm looking for it.
I know it. Okay, you find it. I'm gonna say I need to find this movie now. Crap. I remember really liking that movie though. Like I know it's fun. I know it's bad, but it was also like, is it like somehow it's in the modern era as well as in the past as well?
Yes.
That's happening?
That is happening.
Okay, you find that, and I'm going to think of other
Kung Fu Yoga.
Is that what it's called?
Kung Fu Yoga, yes, because then he meets a princess, like this like beautiful Indian princess who like harnesses the power of yoga to like help save these relics. And it's so bad. It's so bad, but it ends with the greatest Bollywood number, and Jackie Chan looks so happy.
Wow, you know what movie I was thinking about? And I wasn't thinking about that because I was thinking of The Myth. Have you heard of The Myth before?
I have not.
Okay, then that's funny that these two stories with Jackie Chan are basically the same. The Myth is fine. I've never seen Kung Fu Yoga. Then.
Kung Fu Yoga. Just think of the title. Kung Fu Yoda.
I already love it.
Not Yoda. Yoga.
Yes. Yoda doesn't need Kung Fu. He's a Jedi, for Christ's sakes, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. What other titles do we have here? Do you know? And I'm stalling because I'm trying to find a good title here.
I know?
Yes. The U.S. government apparently has 180 days to reveal what it knows about UFOs. I don't know who's pressuring the US government, but
Is it QAnon? Like, what
I
is...
don't know. I'm just reading the titles. I have no additional context. Do you want to know what's going on with UFOs?
Yes.
Hmm.
I'm super into it. Like, I mean, think about it, right? Like, we keep thinking that we are the only smart creature in the universe.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a really sad fact?
It would be. It would be. Now, would you want those other creatures to be smarter than us?
I don't actually mind if they're smarter than us, as long
Yeah.
as they don't try to disembowel me or anything like that.
I
Like,
feel like we'd be the ones who'd instigate that, you know? Like that, like the aliens would be pretty nice. They leave us alone, and then we're like, "Hey, I want to get to know you." We end up fucking up by taking one of theirs,
we would.
and then we start a space war.
I feel like this is about 80% of the plots of sci-fi films.
Yep. I was just going to say, let's write the sci-fi film, but it's already been written many, many times.
It has. It has. But I love the idea of, I think, like, I'm lacking a bit of a sense of wonder. I think a pandemic will take that away from a person.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I think that I still feel like a little kid going to like the planetarium, when I think about like creatures living in space. And I love Contact. That movie made me so happy when I was a tween for some reason.
Yeah.
It fulfilled some deep philosophical need I guess I was having. And I love that idea of not being alone and of being able to be judged a little bit. We're at the top of the food chain. So it would be nice to have someone else look at us and be like, Really? You thought this was a good idea? Like, huh? What? Please explain to me the purpose of a platypus.
I don't know. I think platypuses are kind of cool. A little bit.
They're super cool, but I want to understand why. And I think that, like, why? Like, something at some point, like some amoebas transformed themselves halfway into a beaver, then halfway into a duck, and they were like, hey, let's lay some eggs and be poisonous. And, like, it's so cool, but we're not asking ourselves these questions because we're stuck in, like, this mode of, like, well, I have to appear cool on social media. And I think it's okay to be uncool and ask weird questions.
Yeah.
And we can't get that without aliens, I think.
Well, I think this is a good segue because we've just discovered a new creature on Earth. And isn't it such a neat thing that we are still discovering shit on our planet?
Heck yes.
And we did on Ranked, we did like a top 5 interesting animals you've never heard about episode. And it made me realize like how little I know about the living species on this planet. It is fucking mind-blowing with like, that's a thing? That terrifies me. Like even just bugs. Bugs are weird. There are some big ass bugs that will just destroy me the second they see me.
Fungi?
Oh,
fungi.
Yeah, fungi. Top 5 fungi? I don't want to do it. It's just
No, that's not a good idea.
No. Thank you for being honest. But we just discovered there is scientists, actually, I'm not part of the crew that discovered it.
Could have fooled me.
Yeah, thank you. You're very kind. Discovered a new species of a gelatinous creature that lives deep in the sea. It looks like a jellyfish of sort. I don't know how to describe it other than it's small, and it looks like a jellyfish with some very tiny tentacles sticking out of it, but it's very blobby and tiny. And I think it is known by, here we go. It is known as a comb jelly, a sea gooseberry, a sea walnut.
A sea walnut is a really cute name.
Yeah, and here we go. They live so deep in the ocean, they are even worse than jellyfish when it comes to bringing them up to sea level to research. So they are, I mean, like sea creatures in general just blow my mind. There's so much of them.
Yes, they're so much fun. I wonder if this tiny little walnut jellyfish, or we should give it a name. Like I think we should call it George.
Okay.
But like, does it have like really cool like light up capabilities? Like is it because it lives super deep in the ocean where there's very little light and where obviously you don't want to be prey, and jellyfish are predators. So how does it have little lights? Does it have little like does it emit like any funky scents that can attract other creatures?
Okay, so again, the first time I'm reading this article here, that's how much preparation I do for the show. This creature's body is less than a millimeter long, very, very tiny. It's bulbous, it's balloon-like body with 2 prominent tentacle arms, and 3 different individuals were filmed at that doesn't matter. It doesn't say anything about lighting up, although this picture here makes it feel a little bit lit up, but maybe it's just the camera that took the picture. I don't know.
Could be.
Looks kind of cool.
I mean, people who study deep sea creatures must be fascinating people to have a drink with. You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine what that makes you think about? Like, this thing that is like a millimeter wide is blowing up the science world, and that's awesome.
I don't want to be one of those guys. The deep sea terrifies me. I think like if I were down there in even a submarine, like just the idea of like a submarine and all this water coming in, if something fucks up, or like this giant sea creature being like, I don't like you. And you're like, I can't defend myself because I'm not that great a swimmer. But I do think it's cool from a distance. Very, very cool.
Also, it makes great documentaries to watch as you fall asleep and that are very soothing.
Which documentary is your favorite about the sea?
Blue Planet, definitely. That just blew my mind. And because there's so much play involved, like both from like a narrative perspective, like they really have fun with making it silly, but then they also highlight how sea creatures play.
Oh,
you know, there's a whole sequence of like dolphins just having a good ass time because they're dolphins and they can, and I love that. Like, it makes me feel so happy. It gives me a bit of hope in the world, you know? Like, dolphins are still out there having a good time. Maybe we should make sure to clean up our oceans so they can continue to do so.
Right? We're messy people. Having a dog makes me realize that more. I'm just like, you just left your shit here? Like, why can't you just throw it in the garbage that's right there? Anyways, I'm not getting into it. Kadi, you're here for another reason today. You're here to talk about a specific movie. Can you introduce the movie for us for the week?
Yes, the movie of the week is none other than Pixar's jazz-tastical Soul.
Okay, I get it. Wow, it's my life.
Is all this living really worth dying for? You're still alive?
Can you help me get back?
No way!
There I am. What are we waiting for?
Wait, not me!
Soul, everyone. Wow, Soul. Okay, wow. Where do we begin with this? Let's just say that this movie, like many, many other movies, was supposed to be released earlier this year. Disney did a thing which, just like Onward, I shouldn't say Disney, Pixar, even though it's owned by Disney. I'm going to make a distinction in just a second, where they just released the full movie on Disney Plus. None of this Mulan stuff where you have to pay $30 for. And it's interesting to me, Kadi, I wanted to get your opinion on this. And maybe I'm making connections where there is none. But Disney owns all of this. Yes, we can agree?
Yes.
Well, why is it that Onward and Soul, made by Pixar, was just released on Disney Plus, but Mulan and soon to be Raya and the Last Dragon, or Raya and the Last Dragon, is going to be $30, you know?
I have no idea. I think everyone's grasping at straws to try to keep money.
But is it because Pixar versus Disney, but it's all Disney? It's just like, why?
Maybe they function like Cirque du Soleil, where like each department is its own business, and like RIP Cirque du Soleil, I know you're bankrupt, but
oh man, that makes me so sad. I love Cirque du Soleil, or I did.
But maybe like Pixar, like maybe Pixar is itself like self-sustaining enough that they can actually release their stuff without charging people, whereas like the mega studio of Disney is like, well, we invested a lot of money in Mulan, people paying $9.99 per month is not going to make it up. So we got to charge people $35 so that they don't watch it. And then they wait 6 months and get to see the movie for free.
Yeah, I didn't do that. We paid for it. I really wanted to see it, but
it was worth it though.
It was worth it. It was worth it for the experience. I just wanted to know what that'd be like, you know? I didn't do the same for Wonder Woman when it came out because Wonder Woman just dropped. I didn't want to spend the $30 to rent it first or whatever it was. I just wanted to try it one time to be like, is this the way I want to do things? And the answer is maybe for movies that I'm really, really curious about. The rest I can just wait the 6 months.
Oh, yes. And let's be honest, like supporting Mulan was a political move. I want so many more movies with all Asian casts and like badass women. And oh, yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Now, Soul. Speaking of like, you know, if Mulan, although, okay, Mulan aside, because Mulan has its own problems with its like, you know, the writers and there's a whole thing. I'm not getting back into Mulan. But with Soul, it very much celebrates Black culture as well. And I'm very curious, Kadi, and people at home don't know this, but you're Black.
I am.
You are. I really want to hear your opinion on this movie and what you thought about it overall. And yeah, give it to me.
Cool. Okay, so I enjoyed it. I want to start by talking about the visuals because I think that it is impossible to get critical about this film without first gushing about how beautiful it is.
Gorgeous. The best looking Pixar film.
Absolutely. And it was directed by the same guy who did In and Out. I don't know his name, but I know it's the same guy.
Inside Out? Inside Out,
yes.
you mean?
Yeah.
In and Out's the burger joint.
Yes. Oh, whoops. Yeah, so I love the visuals. It's such a trippy film to watch. The first part of the movie is super trippy. This idea of like the great beyond and all that. Like it's very, very visually inviting. Now, the story in itself is also really quite lovely because it's about passion and it's about inspiration and it's about, you know, life's purpose and what differentiates those things. And that's really quite nice. The characters are lovely and interesting. However.
Oh, here we go. Is the hammer going down? Let's hear it.
The hammer's going to come down for a minute. You know, it would have been so nice if the young ingenue in the film, 22, had been played by a Black person.
Yes.
Instead of Tina Fey. And like, no shade. I love Tina Fey.
Yep.
But ultimately, it ended up causing so many little like mind bends for me because I was like, oh, so I have to privilege the voice of like a middle-aged white woman as opposed to like, you know, it would have changed the dynamic of the film so much, you know, to have someone like a Michelle Buteau or a Nicole Byer voice this like completely, you know, like silly character who's so profound at the same time. Like, can we have that? You know?
Yeah.
So that was the thing.
I'm so glad you brought this up because Laura and I were talking about this last night and I had some time to think about that point because she was bringing up that's a complaint or a concern. I wouldn't say a complaint, but more like a nitpick for otherwise a fantastic movie, in my opinion anyways. Now, this is interesting to me because I made this point to her and I somewhat believe it, but now that I've heard like what you just said and what I really gave it thought to what Laura said, I'm starting to change my tune, which is 22, the character, and we're going to do some slight spoilers here. 22 is kind of like a curmudgeon. She's just like doesn't want to be, or she just wants to remain in the soul world, doesn't want to become a human, any of this stuff. And to me, 22 doesn't have a race identity, right? This soul is nothing. There is no, you don't know if she will be born as a Black person or an Asian person or a white person. You don't know. But this fact remains that once you know it's Tina Fey, most kids that watch this movie don't know any of that stuff. But for the people who are paying attention to this and being like, oh, it's Tina Fey, that's where it starts to become a little bit weird, where you're right. It might have been, if it doesn't matter for the kids, which it doesn't, for the people who it does matter to, and looking a little bit closer to this, maybe the movie would have been slightly more elevated to get the point across, I guess, by giving that voice to a Black person. In a movie that does a lot and tries to celebrate Black culture a lot, jazz, the barbershop scene, wonderful scene. Maybe they just need to go a little bit extra mile and just do that, I think.
I completely agree with you, and I think that what you're saying is so on point, because it's about elevating the movie. It's about taking it from like a nice, fun family favorite that's pleasant to watch, although very complicated for children to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it opens a lot of doors for some uncomfortable family conversations, perhaps.
Sure.
But I think it's about elevating it. It's about saying, like, how can we really celebrate? Like, you want to celebrate jazz, you want to do a movie about Black culture without going into trauma porn. I love it.
Yeah.
But if you're going to make it a celebration of Black culture, don't center it around a white woman. You know, like, and that's the only, it's a tiny thing. And I mean, it's not like Tina Fey is an unrecognizable voice. I mean, the woman's a freaking riot. Yeah. Right. So, and I think she's someone who stands for diversity and inclusion, and it's a part of her humor, and it's a part of her persona. So there's kind of this idea of like, okay, well, if you're going to have like a majority Black cast, at what point are you going to be like, cool, I'm here to celebrate Black culture, Tina Fey? Yeah,
it's you're right. I don't know what else. Yeah, it's a complicated feeling, because I keep going back to like, well, 22 is just a soul. Like it shouldn't matter. But then I'm like, but it should matter. And that's the thing.
It does matter.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Yeah. And it made me really think about that. And now I'm on the side of like, yeah, you just maybe just go all the way. That said, great performance by Tina Fey.
Absolutely.
Just, in thinking about it, makes me feel a little bit more weird than when I first initially watched the movie, which I wasn't even paying attention to that, which is on me. I was more trying to figure out the beats of this movie, which, going back to the plot of it, you got Joe Gardner, who played by Jamie Foxx brilliantly. And you got, a struggling musician who his passion is piano and music, and finally has his shot and dies, quote unquote, like he is on the brink of death, becomes a soul. I'm not going to go through the entire plot here, but it then becomes of the movie that you're talking about here is finding what your passion is, finding really diving deep into what constitutes a soul, I guess.
And that's a complicated thing. And I love that. Look, it's a complicated movie for kids to understand, but I think it's an important movie for kids to see, because I think I think there's this idea that children are dumb, and they're not. They're brilliant, and they can reason these things, and they're also perfectly aware with not knowing and not having all the answers. Yeah. So I think that's super fun. I love the character of Joe. I think that there's something really nice about seeing someone who's really passionate, and you see the other potential passions in his life throughout the movie as well, which is lovely. He's also a teacher, and his zeal for teaching is also quite present. And I definitely had as someone who also, I love to teach, I wanted that to come out, because I think that sometimes we forget about talking about how education is a passion. Yeah. And it's not just for teachers, it's for, people who work in all kinds of fields are passionate about education and thinking about how to do it. Scientists, how to vulgarize things, in tech, how to make things accessible and all that. This is all education based. So we have this beautiful opportunity to bring that up. And I would have wanted to maybe see that go a bit further, but I also loved seeing an adult that was struggling. I think Disney is very good at making it about children struggling so that it's very relatable, but seeing an adult realize that he had missed the mark on certain things and all that, and to be a flawed hero, I thought that was really quite masterful.
Yeah, It's interesting to me. People describe this, and I would agree with this, is like a lot of Pixar films are for kids and adults can definitely enjoy it. This movie, for me, definitely felt like it was more for adults than kids. For the people who have already been watching Pixar films, I mean, like Soul, the messaging might go above a kid's head. Maybe it's not as funny, quote unquote, as other Pixar movies. But I'm going to go ahead and say it on record right now. I think Soul is the best Pixar film we've gotten since Inside Out, which was in 2015. I think this movie is amazing. And it's just from the colors to the what is a soul, like the whole overall film made me think about it.
Yes.
And if you think about what's happened since Inside Out, like we've gotten some good stuff, but maybe not as memorable. Like we've had a lot of sequels, Finding Dory, Incredibles 2. I love Toy Story 4, but still a sequel. Onward, I liked Onward, but Soul is like, it's just so much. I don't want to compare them that much, but it is a cut above Onward by a long shot.
It is. I think that there's something about also taking subject matter that it's the subject matter, just like Inside Out. You know, talking about emotions is challenging for adults. I study sexology, so we talk about emotions a lot. I love doing improv and teaching improv. We talk about emotions a lot. You know, and it's hard because there's societal pressures to not show emotion and to only like this toxic positivity movement that people have been calling out recently and all of that. Like, I think that these are subjects that we have to include in our general family conversations and in the day-to-day. It can't just be like, okay, I'm feeling things, I should go to therapy. It's like, yes, you should go to therapy. Therapy is wonderful, but we should talk about emotions all the time. When it comes to soul, it's the same thing, because I think culturally around the world, the notion of soul is common. You know, like there is this driving force within us, and it's scientifically proven as well, like, you know, motivation and all these things. So why aren't we talking about them? It's a beautiful door being opened. It's almost a gift. Like it's a very pedagogical gift. This
great
movie,
word.
I find.
Great word. I'm just like, wow, Kadi knows a lot of good words here. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I'm just looking at some of the cast on Soul right here. We have Devi Diggs playing a character. Love him. I mean, Jamie Foxx, we talked about Tina Fey. Richard Ayoade was in this movie. Felicia Rashad. Alice Braga. We have Questlove. Are you kidding me? Like, it's just like, it's Angela Bassett, sorry. She is in this movie too. Lovely character. Like, that really kind of, we can talk about that in a little bit too. But I just think the overall cast is very strong in Soul, and it really made the movie come to life. Now, is there favorite moments in this film for you?
Oh, yes. Everything surrounding the cat. Okay, so I'm a notorious cat lady, and that's okay. I love pets so much.
Yeah, is your shirt right now filled with cats, or is that foxes? Foxes. Nature's cat? No.
Yes, pretty much. Pretty much. It's the cat dog of nature.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so everything surrounding the cat. So there is a wonderful therapy cat, basically, who a character becomes the soul of this cat, and it is very funny.
Yeah,
the hijinks are great, but also it's nice because it's like, I find that Disney movies and Pixar movies have a tendency of depicting cats as jerks.
Yeah.
Pardon my strong language.
Yes. We've said fuck on this show.
No, I know, Tuong. I know. As being a goof.
You're a goof.
No, but yeah, so cats are always portrayed as these jerks, and all of a sudden, like, this therapy cat is there, and, you know, the notion of, like, cats having souls is very interesting as well. Like, if you go back to, like, Egyptian times as well, like, that's part of that, and it made me laugh, it made me giggle, and then there's everything that happens in the great beyond. I think that notion of, you know, your soul training other souls versus like just moving on, and then no one really knows what happens once you move on, and keeping that mystery. I thought that was those were moments that really like made me go wow while watching
and
it.
visually, like and I'm gonna like I can't stress enough, the Jerry and Terry, like it is so fun, those characters, but also incredible to watch. Like visually, you have Terry, he's the soul sorter, come to Earth, and you see him kind of blend in with the environment. There's a part where he's just part of the medical equipment, or he is part of a cello or something like that, and he's kind of, the soul thing is kind of navigating the real world. And it is, the lighting in this movie is incredible. Like, I'm like, how are you? Someone showed me a side-by-side image of Toy Story 1 versus this movie, and it is like, wow, look how far we've come in the last 30 years. You know what I mean? Like, wow, it's crazy.
There's artistry in this movie. I think that's the important part, and I think that's even more lovely because when you think about the messaging around artists in this film, like this is a film that really celebrates finding that zone, and they even show that zone, that creative zone, when you just get into a flow. And that representation was, for myself and my partner who both have a lot of creative endeavors in our lives, our minds were blown because we were like, this is exactly how I feel, like floating around in space. Nothing else exists when I'm in that zone. And it's so nice. And the fragility of it being between that zone and then like becoming a lost soul because you're obsessed and you can't go past the idea. I was like, this is masterful.
Like, I love the depiction of the lost soul too, into this like pretty spooky creature. It's just like, and spoilers again, like when 22 becomes a lost soul, just like, it's a very wonderful moment where she is confused and scared and doesn't know what to do, much like how you would feel in real life, and you need somebody, anything or whatever, to bring you out of that state, to say it's okay. And it's wonderful messaging that's going on.
There's definitely incredible analogies to be made with mental health. And I think that's really interesting, right? Because when we think, like, especially at this point in history where we're going back and people are interested in looking back and seeing how is history really reported and what were the facts, and seeing that some people that we hail as these great creators were also full of turmoil and struggle, and understanding that a little bit and having compassion. There's a lot of love and compassion in this film that's really interesting. And how that self-compassion, but that compassion towards others can ultimately help us find our spark.
Beautifully said. There is 3 moments in the movie that I really want to hear your opinion on. And one of them would be, how did you feel about the barbershop scene? How did you feel about the moment where Joe, quote unquote, is talking to his mother? I mean, I already spoiled some of it. 22's in Joe's body, talking to his mother about, art, and how she wants him to give up art, which is like really hit me. I'm like, man, my parents have been there with me many, many times before, being like, why are you doing this? Move on, get a real job, kind of thing. I'm like, I already have a real job. I'm also just doing this too. And then the third one would be maybe just talk about the overall ending and how you felt like it all wrapped up.
Yeah. So the barbershop for me was special. That's like, I find that's a truly special moment because it's a part of Black culture that doesn't get shown, and it's such a space of healing for men in the community, and that's really interesting. It's a space where they're able to be vulnerable and ask questions and learn. And I love that, with 22 in that scene, like, we get to know more about the barber, who's also a fascinated, like, they could make spin-offs out of pretty much every side character in this film.
A lot of people are thirsty for that barber. I saw on the internet, people are like, man, that barber, I'd fuck
that. I'm sure a lot of people would climb that barber like a tree. Like, I mean, he is built like Gaston, but with like the handsomeness and the kindness of like a John Legend. Who would not want that? Like,
right?
As someone who is not into men, I can tell you I'm super into that character. And he's so sensitive. I love it. There are definitely some moments in that barbershop scene where I was like, oh, that's interesting, because it seems like they've only had a one-way relationship where it's Joe always talking to the barber, and 22's presence allows for that to change, but that was definitely like, there was part of me that was like, oh, this may have been written by a group where there were less black people than white people, because I was like, seriously, that barber would have been like, stop talking, I want to share some stuff from my life. Like, this is basically how it would go down. So obviously worded differently. So I thought that was interesting. The scene with the mom, just like that, oof, my heart.
Right? Yeah.
My heart. I think the surprise of it being Felicia Rashad's voice was it's like, as someone who, was born in the 80s, her voice is an important voice. And it just creates a sense of warmth in me that is incredible. But that scene is so hard. It's so hard and so beautiful and so vulnerable. And I was in my feels. And it's the kind of scene that I feel like anyone who's had to, like, I also liken it to coming out. Like, it's being able to show your truth, and being able to just like name the fact that like, hey, this is who I am, and I need you to love me in that, because look at what this brings to me. It's so beautiful. And there's this like, this common representation of Black mothers being so hard and being so deadpan and not loving and kind of being one-track minded about their children just having achievements, and being able to also understand that softer side of the mother and sort of seeing, where she's coming from, and seeing the willingness to compromise and the willingness to listen simply.
Yeah,
really
I completely feel that, reflected on my mother as well. And it's kind of like, at the end of the day, the overprotective mother who's really in their mind just looking for your best interest, right? Like they're really just saying like, I want you to just be financially stable. I want you to be able to afford the things that you want to, and that I just want you to be safe, because when I'm gone, I need to know the comfort that you're just going to be okay. Because right now, up until now, you have not been okay. But I'm going to put that in quotes, because like, okay is different for other people. Like, he was satisfied and is satisfied being a jazz musician, and like, he's really good at it. Maybe he hasn't hit his stride yet, although that's a huge point in the movie. Like, he's finally getting his big break. And when she hears the speech coming out of him to say like, no, this is what, I mean, you said it better than me, but it's just like, this is who I am. Please accept me. And she's like, all right, here's your father's suit. And it's like, oh, you're killing me.
Oh, yes. Yes, definitely have some tissues ready when you watch this movie. Yeah. And then the general ending, it was funny because preparing to talk about this today, I was chatting with my partner, and we were like, we were fuzzy on the ending. I think like we got so caught up in our feelings about the movie that we got fuzzy on the ending, and then like went back and watched part of it again. And I think that is the satisfactory ending. Like, it's satisfying, and that's okay. I think that for this movie, we could have sat in discomfort a bit more at the end.
Right. Maybe not give him the out at the very end. Or maybe do it, but make it more of like a surprise, or I don't know. It almost seems like it's like, well, ultimately it is a kid's movie. So let's kind of, have a more uplifting ending, I guess.
Fine, but I mean, like, kids can handle. I'm sure like a kids indie movie would be awesome with like a super depressing ending.
Right?
And you're just like left there pondering your own existence afterwards, being like, am I just a like meat popsicle living my way through like connected by all these bits and bobs and basically being run by like a few pounds of jello. Like, this is who I am. And like, but I think it was a satisfactory ending.
Yeah. I think I wrote an ending to Laura, and she said, that's just La La Land.
Which I haven't seen.
Which you haven't seen. Okay, well, I'm going to spoil a little bit of it, but not too much, which is essentially, I was just like, okay, what if Joe's back to life now, and he's now a successful jazz musician at the club, playing, doing what he loves, teaching on the side, he loves it, and then he's older. He's like noticeably older. And in the audience, he makes eye contact with somebody in the audience. And he knows and she knows that that's 22, who's now a black woman. And he's on stage playing the piano, but nothing is said. They just look at each other, they smile, and the movie ends. And she's like, that just seems like La La Land. And I'm like, God damn it.
That's how La La Land ends. I thought that La La Land would end with them saying, actually, jazz wasn't invented by Ryan Gosling and white people.
No. Yeah. I would say La La Land doesn't entirely end like that, but it's one of those, like, I wanted the quiet maybe I don't. Maybe it's one of those things I say I want, and if I were to see it, I wouldn't want it. But I think it would have been maybe satisfying to see that little, like, oh, you're alive now kind of thing. And I don't know, maybe that would have been a problem if she was in a black woman's body and it's played by Tina Fey still. I'm not sure. But I think it would have been nice to see, like, where did she go once she went through the giant hole with the earth in it, you know?
I get that, but isn't there also something, like, I mean, one, I think you just described the sequel.
Yeah, which I don't want to see.
Soul 2?
I know. Yeah.
No.
Where the
Soul,
L is
the
somehow
return.
a 2. Soul 2. No,
gross.
it doesn't work. No. The S would be a 2. But
yeah, the S would be a 2. Yeah. No, I think you described. I think that would be a great sequel. But I think that then there's an interesting conversation to maybe have about soulmates, the concept of soulmates, because the relationship between Joe and 22 is so interesting and so caring.
Yeah.
You know, is 22, you know, Joe's soulmate in that sense of, like, you know, I recognize, like, something in you that just like, ugh.
Not romantic soulmate, but just like kindred spirit.
Yes. And I think that I love using the term soulmate to talk about friends, because I think that that's also part of it. And I think that those relationships are also very valuable, and they're often represented as sort of disposable, because friendships are cast aside as soon as there's romance. So I think that could have been an interesting way of bringing that back in.
Two other moments that I really, really loved, which is one, them both going through the giant hole at the end, which is she's like, but you're not going to make it the entire way. He's just like, I'll just bring you as far as I can. And I'm like, that's such that sentence, it has so much weight to it, which is like, it's like, I don't need to bring you the entire way, like, but I will be with you as long as I can. And then you'll have to let go and do it all on your own. And I'm just like, that's life, man. That's life.
100%.
Yeah.
I lost one of my parents almost 10 years ago. And like, that is literally how that feels, to sometimes feel like, you know, you feel a presence, you know, you just go like, oh, I know that in this moment, like, either someone would be proud, like there's definitely some projection, but I think that when you felt that moment once in your life, that, oof, that voice, that sentence ripped me to shreds. I'm not going to lie. Like, I just like, I cried.
Just a mess. And then I really enjoyed, now I will say, like, I still agree that when the ending of him being like, okay, Joe, like, I guess you're free, you're getting a second chance, was a bit too quick. But the overall, like, sensation at the very ending, where he's kind of just like, the messaging is like, yes, music is his passion, but maybe it's not his spark, because the spark is really life. And it's almost this inexplainable feeling when it comes to like how the wind blows and like the busyness of the streets. You can't explain a spark in somebody. It's just there. And I love that sentiment of just like, yeah, maybe my spark isn't defined by my passions per se, which I still love, but it's just this overall spark of like, I love being alive because there is the feelings that I get that is, you can't explain it. It's just, I don't know. Pixar put it in a very beautiful way, but that's how I felt when I watched the ending. I'm just like, yeah, that's really good.
There's something very very tied to mindfulness in that thought, you know. It's presence. It's simply being present and noticing. Right? Noticing in yourself, but noticing outside also. Like, oh, hey, it's kind of like a do you remember the movie American Beauty?
Oh yeah.
With the garbage bag floating in the air?
Yep. Oh, you're talking about Kevin Spacey or the actual garbage bag? No, sorry.
I love that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
But the actual trash bag.
Yeah.
So when, you know, everyone was so caught up in that moment when that movie came out, and everyone loved the poetry of watching a garbage bag circle around in the air. And it's exactly that. This is what this movie keeps talking about. It's this idea of like being able to notice the small and take joy in the small.
Yeah.
I think that's really...
Now, I'd much rather the way that Pixar portrayed it, because the plastic bag, if anyone's ever seen a plastic bag float around and you need to go get that plastic bag, frustrating experience.
Very.
I mean, imagine there's like some garbage in there that just happened to be flying around. Now you got to pick that up. So,
as long as there's no dog poop in there, you're all right.
God, with my luck, there would be. Kadi, an amazing conversation about Soul. And I would say, like, we talk so deeply and lovingly about this movie, and it just makes me wonder, like, yeah, I do wonder if kids will enjoy it in the same way, because like from us artists, grown people, aging people here who have gone through life experiences and stuff, I don't know if kids will get the same. Well, they definitely won't get the same like connection. Same with Inside Out for that matter, but I think Inside Out's messaging is a little bit more on the nose. Soul's a little bit more abstract. Is there enough fun in the movie to still enjoy the movie? And my answer is probably yes.
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. I think so. I know, yes, the Auntie and Me is coming out. My brother watched this with my 3-year-old niece, and all she said throughout it was, pretty. So I think there's enough there, and there is enough entertainment. Like there's hijinks and silliness.
Yeah, with the cat. And the cat carries a lot of that.
Yes, the cat definitely does a lot of that work. I think that there is. I think that the cool segment of the population who will love this will be like older teenagers who like just want to have like pseudo intellectual conversations while like, you know, smoking a little joint or like doing a little something else. And like, I think that is going to be a really trippy experience, and that's going to be really fun for them.
Oh man. For sure. All right, Kadi, we are here. I want you to rate Soul now.
I would give it 4 trumpet horns out of 5.
Out of 5 trumpet horns? Wow.
Out of 5 trumpet horns, I would give it 4. Yeah.
How many
little toots of the trumpet?
How many of those? What are they? What are those seeds? You know those floating things that you see in the movie. What are those? Oh my God!
Helicopters, like the seed pods from.
Okay, thank you.
Maple tree.
Yes, that's what it is. How many of those would you rate the movie out of?
Ooh, that's a really good one. Okay, so I would probably rate it like. Maybe like 2 full ones and then just a single.
Okay. Yes. Really good. Out of what? What's this? What is it?
Oh, out of that's a great question. Now I obviously want to be super original, but I'm going to say out of a tree.
I think that's original. Okay, well, that's our wrap up on Soul. Overall, I really, really enjoyed it. Kadi clearly did as well. It's a wonderful film. Definitely recommend. If you have Disney Plus, I mean, there's not much content on there right now. You should go watch it. Besides Mandalorian, of course. Now, Kadi, we are here at the very end of our show, but before we go, of course, we have to hear plugs. What do you got going on in life?
Yeah, so I'd love to plug the Yeah podcast, which is a weekly podcast on young adult literature that I get to co-host with three fabulous humans. So you can find that on any podcast searching situation that you have. Yeah, YA. That's about as simple as it gets. So yeah, that's my big plug right now.
I freaking love it. For myself, you can find the rest of the shows in the PodCavern at www.podcavern.com. Check out all the wonderful shows. You'll hear Kadi's voice in there every now and then. Hopefully again soon. What other fictional animals do we rank this time? Who knows? Top 5 souls. No, that's way too hard. And the winner is Tina Fey. Oh, God. And with that, we're going to wrap up the show. So before we go, of course, Kadi, we have to end the show with your world-famous catchphrase.
My world-famous catchphrase is simply responding to people, giving people's names, naming people's names all the time. So, for example, ask me something by using my name.
Kadi, are you excited for next Christmas?
Tuong?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. That's it. Bye, everyone.
Bye.